Okay. So we are here to review the breast. These are our objectives for today. And you will get a slide about this, so you can refer to the PDF file of the slides. And like I said, review of the germ layers. This is the German New Medicine photo that you will get on the website. But the reason I'm doing this is I'm trying to veer away from their photos and use my own. So I rotated this slide so that this yellow part now becomes the bottom, because I wanted to depict building a house or building a building wherein the bottom is the yellow, which is the endoderm, which is the innermost layer. And on top of that is the mesoderm layer, which is all about protection. And like we said, the first two layers will have the same tissue response, which is cell growth when the patient is actively processing the conflict. And once they have processed that, they move into the healing phase, which is all about cell loss. Now, the third layer is all about structural integrity. The muscles, the bones, the lymphatics, the arteries live here. And because it's all about integrity, symbolically, our personal integrity, the conflicts that will be related to that will be all about self-evaluation. The fourth layer is the ectoderm, which is all about our sensors, anything that we use to relate to the external world. And this is the last layer, the newest layer, which is the cerebral cortex. So the cortex is the newest kid on the block in terms of brain evolution. And this is also the most nuanced. Now, under this are organs that are related to the topmost layer of the skin, the epidermis, and all our sensory organs, primarily heavily on the eyes and ears. Now, because it is responsible for our relationship to the external world, in general, the umbrella or the themes of conflicts related to this layer are all about separation. All right. And the last two layers have the same tissue response, which is the opposite of the first two. So you just switch those. So now you have cell loss when the patient is actively dealing with a conflict. And once they've moved past that, they now have cell growth. And these are generalizations. Just again, just chime in, because I cannot see if you're raising a hand or something. So just chime in. I'm going by your voices. So now we go to, if you have any questions. So now we go to the breasts in particular. Now, the breast, you can visualize that like a sponge. It has various layers, various channels. So the fatty connective tissues provide the support and the shape. The lobes is where the milk is produced. So you can think of that as storage units. The ducts are the transportation system through which those milk exit and are delivered through the nipple. So you can think of the ducts as thin straws. And it's similar to how you squeeze a sponge when you release water. The baby sucking motion stimulate that squeeze so that the milk flows out of the nipple. Now, if you can remember, the glands, look at the color now, the glands and the milk ducts are very similar to a previous biological program that we just studied. Do you have an idea of what they pattern after?
Is it the kidney?
No. We just studied it like last week.
Say the question again.
This pattern, the biologic program pattern of the glands mimic something that we studied last week, as well as the milk ducts. They mimic something the topic that we studied last week. They're exactly the same pattern. Last Saturday.
So is that the skin then?
Yes, it's the skin. So the program of the glands is similar to the program of the dermis. The program of the milk ducts is similar to the program of the epidermis or the topmost. And I provide the color of the arrows for reference. So you can think of the skin like a landscape, a garden with a sprinkler. And the reason that they are so close together in programming is because over time, that garden with the sprinkler heads, when that skin evolved over time, it transformed from sweat glands. So your sprinkler heads liken them to, hold on a sec. Hold on a second. My laptop, I need to charge. All right. Over time, those sprinklers on the garden evolved, transforming from a sweat gland into the milk glands to produce milk for the offspring. So that's over our evolution. Now I'm going to start the discussion with the dermis first. So, sorry, the milk gland first. And this was the slide I presented last time of the dermis because it's very similar to the breast glands. Why is it considered under the layer of protection? Because think of the breasts as like a kitchen, the kitchen of the body. It's whipping up meals for the offspring. And so it's a nurturing station, right? It stirs up all the warm, fuzzy feelings. So when stress about our loved ones creep in, it's setting off an alarm in the brain saying that you need to gear up for protection. And with the breasts, the language is of nurturance. You protect the offspring by nurturing it. That's why it's considered part of this layer. All right. Now, so we're talking about breast glands. All right. So it follows this programming, old mesoderm, cerebellum. And therefore, in the conflict active, it's just like when you're in alert, when your body's in alert, just like firefighters. It's programmed to rescue your body by as if you're breastfeeding, even though physically you're not breastfeeding, you're just worried about, say, an adult child. Your body responds as if you need to nurture, as if you need to breastfeed. So what does it do? It prepares the breast glands for that potential breastfeeding by increasing the number of gland cells. You do not see this. It's a microscopic event. All you may see with the patient, if the patient is your friend, for example, all you may see is this: anxiousness, reduced appetite, sleep disturbance, because they're trying to resolve a conflict. Internally, you will not see this. This is a silent process, but the body is trying to increase the glands now in preparation for protection of the offspring. Now, as the individual resolves the conflict, then moves on to the warm phase and the cell loss phase. So swelling happens because fluid, as we know, we heal in a fluid environment. So fluid gathers in the breast and becomes swollen. The sharp pain is very, very particular of the old mesoderm layer. It's almost what we call pathognomonic. It's almost like a signal when you are having pain. Most likely it's an old mesoderm layer, according to GNM. But it's just a sign that your body is working hard to repair itself. So the night sweats, it's because the body is breaking down the tissue that's no longer needed, that it grew here and it no longer needs it. So it's starting to break down. So all of these are happening now in the healing phase. Now, under stress, the attack for this breast gland program is not one, the conflict is not one of attack necessarily, but it's still attack in a soft way. That's my interpretation. It's trying to protect the nest. And so it's called a nest worry conflict. In animals, the mother's ability to produce milk can be very crucial for the young survival during danger. So similarly, as humans, we kept the survival mechanism. So when it's activated when we're worried about a loved one, even when we don't need to nurse necessarily. So it's this under the nest worry, you are distressed about a loved one, a home, or a workplace. Another conflict under this breast gland program is that of argument with a loved one. And it's the worry aspect after the argument. It's like, oh, I'm worried that I might lose relationship with her. It's not necessarily about the topic of the argument, but it's your worry that your relationship will be severed after having an argument with that loved one. And that's according to Annalie's notes.
Can I chime in here? Is this
Yes,
okay?
yes.
Sorry. So I'm just getting when we have a proliferation like that, it's not just cellular, it's emotional, right? It will change the hormonal balance to not just be a physical nurture response of the body, but it will be a hormonal which will impact our emotions. So it will create even better conditions to resolve that.
Yes.
So it's not just that's what I'm kind of
Yes.
intuitively just downloaded
Yes.
down.
Yes, because we are one full organism. So we are all layers. We are all physical, mental, emotional, what have you, soul, spiritual bodies. All of that will respond. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for that beautiful insight. So yeah, anytime you guys have a question, have an insight to share, just chime in. So now, hold on, I'm trying to bring up my cursor here. Yeah, let's see. All right. So remember this slide from the digestive presentation? The pancreas is also all about arguments, right? So when you're having an argument with a loved one, when does it register as a nest worry and when does it register as a pancreatic problem? The difference mainly is for me, and again, chime in, the pancreas is more about the topic itself. It's an indigestible morsel. The other one, the nest worry, is all about worry about the relationship, not necessarily the topic of the argument. That's my take on it. So I just decided to superimpose this because it just came when I was doing the slides. It just popped in my head. Wait a minute. There's also an argument conflict with pancreas. What's the difference? So anybody want to chime in?
I love that. Yes, it totally
so.
makes sense to me. It's a morsel, so it's a topic.
Right.
Versus the breast is, I mean, that's relationship because it interplays with procreation.
Yes.
As well, and you know, so it's relationship on the mother-child.
Yes.
Again, so yeah.
Because I'm thinking, what makes the psyche assign it to the pancreas? This argument that I'm having, for example, what makes the psyche assign it to the pancreas versus the breast? So that was just my own interpretation of why the psyche assigns it to a particular organ versus the other if it's under the same argument conflict. Okay. Now, I present this story about the blurred visual because I just lifted it from the internet. I could not find anything that was better than this. But the reason I present it now is to introduce to you the terms that you will hear from doctors or biopsy reports. There are two different kinds under the lobular or glandular carcinoma, quote unquote. One you will hear is the term in situ. The other one will be invasive carcinoma. What's the difference? In situ is in sight, literally. It's just within, it's inside the lobe. It hasn't yet popped out to affect nearby organs or structures. So meaning in situ is non-invasive. So you will see this in pathology reports, or you may see this in pathology reports for your friends. Once you start seeing the terms invasive, then that means it's gone outside the lobe. It's just that, it's that simple explanation for the difference. That's all I wanted to present here. And I'm not going to present the nuances of how to stage each, because I don't think that's relevant to your practice anyway. But this one may come up because your friend can share with you pathology reports, and then you will see these terms. So at least you're familiar with them. All right. Now we move on to the epidermis, which is very similar to the ductal breast duct program. And reminder that the epidermis is part of the ectoderm, which is the newest layer, the fourth layer, the topmost layer, all about sensors for external stimuli. And under this are your sensory organs and epidermis. And the conflicts are of the theme of separation. If we apply that to the milk ducts, how did that become one of separation? Because evolutionary wise, if you imagine a paper, I don't want to log out so that you can see me, but just imagine a paper and fold that paper onto itself. That's what happened evolutionary. The skin folded onto itself, creating these what we call invaginations, or the fold, the ridge, which then started to line the duct. So over time, the cells from the skin, they migrated inwards, traveling through the nipple to line the inner milk ducts. Another analogy that I will present is, imagine your kitchen sink. And then you decide to extend those same tiles inside the pipes to make them stronger, more durable. So the body did something similar to that. It used the cells of the skin to create a durable lining for the milk ducts. Does that make sense so far? That's why this milk duct is under this program. Let me know if that's making sense. Okay. If I don't hear from you, that means I'm just gonna
Yes.
go forward.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yes. Thank
Okay,
you.
good. All right. Now, when a separation conflict occurs, so for example, the loss of a loved one, the milk ducts go into survival mode, and the response is, when you feel emotionally separated from someone you were nurturing or close to, your body assumes you no longer need to produce milk, right? So what it's going to do is it's going to prevent that milk from getting stuck. What does it do? It widens the ducts by eroding or ulcerating. So this is a medical term for erosion, or ulcerating the inner lining. And again, this is a microscopic process. You do not see this, but it's already happening as the body is preparing to lose those cells that you no longer need because of the separation. So much of this conflict active phase, all that client may complain of is numbing. And the numbing is part of the body's attempt to numb you from the pain of the emotional separation. So that's also symbolic as well as physical. And remember also, because the cortex is part of the sensory processing of the brain, that person may experience short-term memory loss because the brain is overwhelmed by the emotional distress and it's prioritizing survival mode over mental focus. So this is all you may see. The numbing and the short-term memory loss is all you may see in the client while she's processing that separation. Now, once she's moved on, this is typically when they present to us, because that's when they have all these symptoms. So now the body starts repairing the areas that it eroded by building new cells. And that's why you have the swelling. And of course, all functions go, meaning arteries will support that growth by opening up, expanding. So now you have the redness, you have the warmth, you have the itching. Itching is coming from the platelets. When you have high platelets, you will itch. And now from the numbing, you now have hypersensitivity. It's like when your foot is falling asleep, once the blood flow returns, then you feel the intense tingling or the sensitivity to it. So it's the same with the breast. All right. Now, like we said, the milk duct conflicts are under the banner of separation theme. And I amalgamated all those 3 slides that I presented to you last week, and they're all here now. So loss of wanted physical or emotional contact from a loved one, or an unwanted contact. Because symbolically, think of these milk ducts like invisible strings connecting your heart to their heart. That's what I was using for my own remembering, like they're emotional strings connected to my loved one. So when my loved one pulls away, it feels like those threads have been torn from me or ripped from me. That's the theme of separation. All right. Now, I present this slide to you similar to the one in the glandular breast carcinoma or cancer. So imagine a duct, cut it crosswise, a pipe, cut it crosswise. This is what normal will look like. And again, we are seeing the term in situ and invasive. Same pattern, same template, just different in terms of this is ductal, the other one was lobular, but both have the same concept. So when you see in situ ductal carcinoma in situ, this is what you're dealing with. Once it comes out, once those quote cancer cells come out, they become invasive, and then you get a diagnosis of invasive ductal carcinoma or IDC. All right. Now, a refresher. Except for the first layer, all 2, 3, 4 layers, the handedness will apply. So if you're a right-handed person, and this is for Marilyn, because I know you ladies already know this by heart. But if you're a right-handed person, the logic is when you're nursing a baby, you need the right hand because it's your dominant hand. You need the right hand to do stuff. And so you're carrying your baby on the left hand, so that conflicts that are related to the left side are all related to mother-child conflicts or mother-child substitutes. And conflicts that you experience on the right side of your body are all related to partner or partner substitutes. All right. Remember, I know you remember these from the GNM, from your initial handouts. These are all the mapping of the brain control to the organs. And the reason I bring them up here is because to emphasize the point that from my perspective, we do not need this anymore unless this is very useful if you are interpreting a CT scan of the brain, because this is all about brain. You don't necessarily need this when you're practicing and taking history from a patient, because what you're seeing is the physical manifestation, not the brain manifestation. But of course, you're welcome to refer to it on the website. Therefore, I will not be presenting this moving forward in my slides because I think they are irrelevant unless we are radiologists. All right. Any comment on that one?
For what I've done so far, Richie, with clearing, when I do the clearing, I do ask that is also cleared the epicenter on the brain of that conflict that I'm working with. I ask
Okay.
that is healed.
Do you refer to the chart necessarily?
I do like to know where it is. Like I like to know where I am referring. I refer source directly to that area.
Okay.
But I also ask if they are interrelated epicenters that deal with the same topic,
Right.
that are overlapping symptoms in the person. So then I need to know how many epicenters are related. So I kind of, that's the element I put in there from the brain.
Perfect. So use these as you see, as you deem necessary for your practices. For the purpose of my reviews with you moving forward, I don't think I'll have use for them. But yes, I use them in the background when I'm preparing my slides. Yeah. All right. So again, reminder of this template, because it really does, it just guides us. So because we're gonna start on cases now. So we start with the S, which is all about the patient's story. Once you start examining the patient, you move into the O, which is objective, everything that you have examined using your senses. A is your assessment or diagnosis. P is your plan or treatment approach. So we're going to start with a case. And I made the cases, again, they're fictitious. So this one, I present, Jewel is a 42-year-old. She had this timeline wherein she had a falling out with her BFF, and what kind of conflict you think was triggered there. You can all unmute yourselves, maybe. So we can have a better engagement from everyone.
So that's arguments. This is not boyfriend. It's just a friend, right?
A friend, BF, yeah, a
Okay.
best friend. She had a falling out with her best friend.
Yeah.
And she was so
Argument.
worried. Yes, it's an argument, conflict. She was so worried about the relationship. And then on top of that, her son went to jail. So now she has an additional conflict. And
Separation.
not yet.
Child.
Sorry, I was wanting to zone in on this one. Yes, sure. It could be perceived as by the psyche as separation. It could be perceived by the psyche as a nest worry. And then 2 weeks ago, she said, "Hey, my left breast feels full." And she's right-handed. My left breast
Right.
feels full. So sometimes the reason I present this is sometimes all you get is a lump. You don't get a skin change. So what do you do? Because with the skin changes, it's easier to map out where is she at? Is she conflict active? Is she healing? But sometimes it's just a lump. And the thing is, with a lump, it can overlap both milk duct and breast gland programs. Then you don't know. Then you're lost. What do you do? I remind you of this slide. Remember, we talked about how do you differentiate between an epidermal versus a deeper level skin issue. And I presented this slide to you. But what do you do when you just have a lump? This does not apply anymore. What do? You go back to questioning. If she says, how do you differentiate between nest worry and separation? If she says something like, I felt like I was failing her, or him, my son, I felt like I was not enough. I could not keep my family together. That's more of a nest worry. If she said he was shutting me out or my best friend was shutting me out, I could not reach her anymore. I felt abandoned. That's pointing more towards a separation conflict. Sometimes it's not that easy. Sometimes it is layered. So sometimes maybe she will say to you, well, I was scared. I couldn't help her. And she did not want my help. She pushed me away. So a combination of both. It can be a layered program. So I'm just introducing you now to the reality that, oh my goodness, it's not that clear cut when Annalie presents it. You think it's just one or the other, but no, sometimes it's really very layered like this. Now, what do? Don't get lost in the forest for the trees. How do you do that? And that's why I present to you this template. The history is very important. 85 to 90% of your answers or your questions will be answered by the patient alone without you even touching the patient. So really take your time asking the questions. So now we start by asking the questions. The first questions you normally would ask is, what are your symptoms, right? Delineate, tease out, and what are the conflict? The next thing you may want to ask is, where in your mind, where is she now? Is she still actively resolving the conflict, or is she in healing? So now you start designating your questions or categorizing your questions such that it pulls this information from you, or from the patient, sorry, for you. Now, one thing that I will be reminding you of is, do not forget the forest. Instead of just looking at the trees, reminder, zoom out first. See, are there hanging conflicts? because it will change the management. It will change your approach if she is having hanging conflicts or if she just has one conflict. So don't forget to zoom out, look at the forest first, figure out where you are, figure out your bearings before you start zooming in on the problem. So rule out hanging conflicts or tracks. And what did we say about those? If she, so like we said, whatever we perceive, our sensors, our sensory organs perceive while that conflict is happening, through our eyes, ears, nose, mouth, hands, skin, it will bookmark that in your memory so that when you encounter that same perfume, that vision, that picture of the person you lost, it will trigger an alarm. It could trigger an alarm. So that woman can continue experiencing conflict relapses because of the emotional triggers that keep reactivating the stress. And so she can get stuck in a cycle of stopping, starting to heal, and then stopping. So that's why GNM is calling it a hanging healing. Okay. The next one you may want to rule out is an epicrisis. Is she an epicrisis? Because again, that will change your management. For epicrisis, this is common among all epicrisis. So you will notice her fatigue with night sweats, low blood sugar. This is common. What will differentiate it is depending on which organ, how it manifests in an epicrisis. But in the background, all of these are happening during an epicrisis. Any epicrisis. Another thing that you would want to see is she in a syndrome? Now, how do you know if they're in a syndrome? Again, we said there has to be a healing program. You have to see symptoms first before you even think about the syndrome. You have to see some changes in the breast first. So perhaps her breast lump is a healing program. Now, you know the 4 conflicts related to the kidney program to be a syndrome. I hope you remember those. Right? So look at that, see if there's a rule out. RO is rule out. Rule out hanging conflicts, rule out epicrisis, rule out the syndrome, and know the handedness before you can even tackle the case. Again, get your bearings, see where you are in the forest. Now, I present to you Sarah, 39-year-old, right-handed. She's a school teacher. And she has a 5-year-old daughter. She's your friend. And you've seen her very anxious, restless, poor sleep. So I'm Sarah now. What do you want to ask me? I'm your friend.
Okay, when did it start?
Just a few days ago. Just a few days ago, really, a few nights ago. Within 3 days.
You'd want to know the symptoms as well, right?
I'm very anxious. So Fiona is seeing that I'm very anxious, I'm restless, and she's asking, hey, what's going on? What other questions would you like to ask me?
How is your child? Is your child going to school for the first time? Are you?
Thank you. Fiona, Emily, my 5-year-old daughter, she had high fever 3 nights ago, and she's now hospitalized with pneumonia. So I feel very helpless. I'm overwhelmed. I've still continuing work, but I've been spending the nights at her bedside in the hospital.
Oh, I'm sorry that you're going through that. That must be difficult for you, and feeling separated. How are your supports at home?
I don't have any other than you.
I'm glad to be here for you.
Thank you. So then I'll fast forward and just go through the motions of, okay, what do you want to know next? So you're not gonna see, okay, is she in conflict active? Is she in healing? So all you're seeing right now with me is anxiousness. I don't have any physical symptoms, not yet, because it was just 3 nights ago. So there, I'm anxious, I'm restless, I can't eat, can't sleep.
Okay. Cold hands.
Cold hands. Yes, the blue one. The blue
Yeah.
one is for the
Okay.
cold hands. Now you're gonna ask me, or you're gonna ask questions that in your mind is answering, does she have any hanging conflicts? And my answer would be no. Just to make the case easy, does she have any epicrisis happening? No. Do I have the syndrome? Do I have all those 4 conflicts under the syndrome? No.
I could ask rash. Do you have a rash anywhere? Any swelling
None.
anywhere? No.
No,
Okay.
I don't.
Okay.
So now you start cleaning your, washing your hands because you're getting ready to examine her. So we're in the objective part now. And this mnemonic that I gave you last time can still apply because you're examining the breast. So you can still use this. The thing is, there's nothing on her breast that you can see, nothing on her skin that she can see. So nothing to report to you. So what could be happening is that she could still be processing it, right? It's very new. And silently, the body is getting ready to nurture that infant or that child by increasing the number of glands. Now, 3 weeks later, she comes to you again. Hey, Fiona, I'm noticing that my breasts are now fuller and firmer. There's no lump necessarily, but I do feel that it's fuller. And I she's been having night sweats now, tenderness, sharp pains. All right. So now you know she's moved into the healing phase because Sarah, her daughter, Emily, is now back from the hospital. So what's her primary conflict here?
It's nurture protection
The
because
nest
it's
worry.
old mesoderm, sharp pains, and now there's tenderness in the breast.
Yes. Yes. So the primary conflict under this program running is the nest worry. She was worried about the safety of her child, the health of her child. Okay. Now, a few weeks later, she was due for her annual exam with the doctor, and the doctor detected that firm area in her breast. So the doctor orders a mammogram and a biopsy. What do you think will be her new conflict? Potentials. There could be many, but just potentially, what do you think can
Fear
arise?
survival? Would it be fear? Like now she's worried about a lump?
Yeah, that's one. There are many, right? There are many, depending on our psyche's interpretation of the event. She could perceive it as an attack on her body, on her boundaries, on her sovereignty. So that's a second layer now. If it is an attack conflict, then the body activates the dermis again because it's under that programming, so that it reinforces the area. It's like a protective mechanism. It's her body attempting to thicken the skin to shield the breast from the harm that the body is perceiving or the psyche is perceiving, the harm of mammo, the harm of biopsy. So the body is attempting to protect that organ by thickening the skin. So the dermis will be involved this time. If it's an attack conflict. So I'm just presenting you a possible conflict. There will be many, but my point is, if you are suspecting a conflict, for example, I'm suspecting an attack conflict, then what are you expecting to see in the conflict active? All right. So in the conflict active of an attack conflict, she may not notice it yet, but the body is already thickening or hardening to create an armor. At this point, it might just be numbness. She's just shutting off the painful experience. Now, she's moved on from that, and days later, she moved on into the healing phase. So now she has this breast mark from the biopsy. It's uncomfortable, but she knows that she will heal. Okay. Now, as she is healing, she yes, the breast was feeling red. There was discomfort, but she said, oh, that's normal from a biopsy. But now she's noticing this yellowish discharge. Now she starts panicking. Fiona, I'm having this discharge and I feel dirty. Like I feel like it's infected. Now what conflict can that be?
Disfigurement or
Yes, that can be one. What happened to the other ladies? Are you guys awake?
sorry.
Sorry, I
Like
thought we were just talking to Fiona. I didn't know we were coming in on
Just
this
chime
too.
in. Yeah, chime in anytime.
Self-evaluation.
Self-evaluation can be
evaluation.
contamination, specifically because she's thinking of an infection or that she is dirty. So the leaking is her body's way of containing the contaminant. And now the breast will start feeling harder because it's again trying to protect, right? Now, if she's not careful and she gives in to the fear, she may think that, oh my God, it's progressing to cancer. All right. Now her doctor calls her on the 8th week and says, oh, I have the pathology reports now for you. And it's lobular carcinoma in situ. And again, reminding you, in situ is it's contained, it's within the site. Therefore, it's not invasive. And she knows that. So you explain that to her as her GNM practitioner. You explain, oh, you know what? It's this, and not the invasive type. So she relaxes. But if she's not seeing you, she may develop a hospitalization conflict with hearing the term carcinoma. So it can go either way, again, depending on the patient. And the hospitalization conflict can start. Now, emotionally, she feels embarrassed about this leaking and she begins avoiding intimacy with her partner. Along with that, the partner senses that and withdraws from her as well. So now Sarah feels a sense of abandonment. Now she's isolated emotionally and she doesn't feel supported. Now what conflicts arise from hospitalization? Now you have another layer of abandonment / existence. The only thing that's missing is a refugee. Now, what are we leading to now?
A syndrome.
The syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very easy for a breast lump diagnosis to snowball into all these conflicts if the patient is not aware. So this slide is just reminding you of all the conflicts. So abandonment, hospitalization is here, existence is here, and refugee conflict is here. All four. With her, it's 3 out of 4 that is happening. All right. Now, her body now, so she's in the syndrome. The key with the syndrome is it's almost the entire, not just the organ level, not just the brain level, but almost the entire body will be swollen. So now she's retaining water because she feels like she's a fish out of water with the abandonment and the existence. So now the breast becomes very swollen, very engorged, and severely inflamed, right? When you present like this to a doctor, what we normally would be alarmed about is all of this presentation. And normally we diagnose this as inflammatory breast cancer. So there you go, another cancer diagnosis on top of the in situ. And usually these breast manifestations, they weep, they have discharges. All right. But so then week 10, she gets a call from her doctor and says, Sarah, we need to start you on hormone therapy because of the in situ. We need to start you on tamoxifen just to make sure it doesn't develop into cancer in the future. But you know what, Sarah, she's your friend. She's educated on GNM. And she says, I have Fiona to help me with this one. So she says, you know what, I'm going to let it go. I'm going to listen to my body's wisdom. And Fiona helps her with the feelings of shame, self-judgment, what have you. So now she starts having a thickened breast. So now her breast feels firmer. And the reason for that is scar tissue, what we call fibrosis or fibrous tissue from prolonged inflammation. And as it scars, it appears smaller. Sometimes the nipple can be inverted, like here, because imagine a pouch and you're pulling the drawstring. So the tighter the string, the smaller the pouch gets, and then you have that induration. The nipple disappears under because of the contraction from the scarring. I hope that made sense. And then the pigmentation. Usually there is pigmentation, especially for Asian skin. There's a darkening that you will see. So she heals on her own without any intervention because she had Fiona, a GNM practitioner, guiding her through the process. Any questions? Or if you guys want to take a break, we are at the first hour. So the next hour, yeah, go
I
ahead.
just want to say, so excellent. Excellent. Thank you. Oh my God.
Is it yummy for you?
It's so yummy. It makes it so easy to follow.
My goodness, wait till tomorrow. Tomorrow's yummy.
Yeah, wait till tomorrow.
Can I just ask, does the nipple stay inverted then after she's
again.
healed?
Sorry.
Does the nipple stay inverted after the healing?
Does the nipple stay inverted? Yes, because of the scarring, yes.
Okay, and it'll still stay like fibrous, like hard.
Yes.
The tissue will still be harder.
Now,
okay.
One thing you can help with that, and I was going to present that tomorrow with Marilyn, is our deep massage exercises that will break the scar tissue. Because that's happened to me with my bunionectomy. I had a bunion taken out, and I saw my massage therapist almost every 2 days just to break the scar tissue. And you can with deep massage. It's painful. It's effing painful, but it helps.
Okay.
Yeah. So Marilyn, if you're still there, I can't see all of you. If you're still there, that is one treatment approach that I was going to present tomorrow.
Thanks, Richie. And that was amazing also to see the different stages that could play out, and
yes.
it's just, yeah, it's a shame. I just think of all the women who've probably
yeah
gone through that.
Honestly, it was very hard for me to make this presentation because I was exactly like you said, I was thinking of all those women that I had to refer to the cancer agency and had to have mastectomy, had to have chemo, had to die. So yeah, it was very emotionally heavy for me to go through the breast module alone without presenting the slides yet. I was just going through the breast module like, what have you been doing?
So Richie, for us, like me, I'm not a doctor, right?
Yes.
I do my modality. If I had to be working on someone and working through the emotions, etc., when they've got breast cancer or diagnosed with something, one would have to refer them then to you or someone else because you need to have that medical knowledge, right?
And not only that, legally to protect
you.
It's more that. It's more the legal aspect to protect you, because if you don't, then if something happens to that patient, unfortunately, in our landscape, the medical profession still dominates. So you could they could take you to court because you were not, quote, following standard procedure.
Right. And then sometimes people come there too late. Like I had one lady who came to me, but it was already, it had metastasized all over. I mean, she had lumps everywhere and the axillary everywhere. And it was just so heartbreaking because she refused to have the mastectomy. She tried every single natural alternative that she could. By the time she came to me, it was really too late. I mean, I spoke to her when she was going off in the ambulance. It's,
But at least by that time, she was already registered under the medical program. So,
she didn't want to go into the medical program. There was also another lady who had a little lump and she also refused. She just refused. She would not.
That's okay. You do your best. But in case you get a patient who hasn't even been in the medical program, then you have to refer.
Yeah. Okay.
But again, there is wording around that. When it's your client and you need to refer, we practiced the wording last time to minimize the fear.
Yes,
right?
absolutely. Yeah.
Right? So that's why that script that I offered last time was important, because we need to make sure the wording around it is to lessen the fear and not add another.
Yeah, you don't say you've got cancer, go. No, because then they could get cancer, right? Yeah.
And you guys are very much experts at that because of your practices and because of your intuition and your gentleness and your compassionate spirit. So you're very well versed in how to script it for your clients, which I'm very grateful for. All right, you guys ready to move on to the next and the last case? All right,
Yeah.
let me just drink my water. Hold on. All right, if you guys don't have any other questions about the what I just presented was a glandular program. Obvious. If it's not obvious yet. Okay, we're gonna move on to the milk duct program. So this is Catherine. She's 52 years old. She's right-handed, retired dancer, widowed, 3 adult children. And she's your client. So she presents with a breast lump for 4 weeks. What would you like to ask me? I'm Catherine. And I'm going to present this as your guide. That's your guide.
I'll stand down because I seem to.
Because you've been talking too much.
Can you go back one slide? Sorry.
All right, here you go.
Yeah.
That one or the initial?
No, the one before. Yeah.
And Amber, stop furiously writing. You will have the slides.
No, I have a toddler, not a toddler, 6-year-old in the room here with me, and I'm trying really hard to pay attention.
Okay.
He's taking my attention away.
Well,
Sorry.
you have the recording. You have the slides.
Yeah.
You're gonna be fine. You're okay. And it's okay if you want to spend that time with your toddler.
No, he's supposed to be entertaining himself. That's the issue.
Okay. All right. So, do you still need this page, Amber?
No, I think I'm good now. Thank you.
Okay. So this is your guide, and Catherine is in front of you. She's a first-time client, and she complains of that breast lump. What would you like to ask me?
So you could ask her what's going on in her life, you know, if there's a separation or a breakup with her partner, there might be a death.
Yeah, it said widowed, right? How long ago?
Widowed, right? Oh, how long ago? Sorry, I didn't see that one. So ask how long ago that happened.
The husband died 30 years ago.
30 years ago.
Well,
30 years ago. He's not my concern right now. You know what, Julia? Thank you for asking me about that. Well, my youngest daughter, as you know, Emily, she moved to overseas for college. So I'm really feeling that loss. I've lost touch with my child, with my baby.
And do you talk to her often, or have you lost contact completely?
Not completely, but as often as she would allow me to contact her.
Right.
She, as you know, she says she's very busy with study.
And how does this make you feel? Do you feel abandoned?
Very disconnected.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
She is my baby after all. She's my youngest.
Are you worried about her? Is there something going on with her life right now that worries you?
Not necessarily. It's more I'm worried because my baby's not within my field. But in terms of financial, in terms of studies, no, she's good. She's actually doing well in university. I guess it's my attachment to her, hey?
Right.
Would you like to ask me about my symptoms?
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
Would you like to ask me about my symptoms?
Yes, please. What are the symptoms? Do you have pain?
Yeah. I just noticed a lump in my left breast. It's like the size of a pea. When I was feeling my left breast while I was showering, I happened to gloss over my breast and it was the size of a pea. It's firm. It moves as I move it around. It moves. But yeah, that's the only thing that I've noticed really.
And
I
is
don't
there
have any
any,
pain.
yeah, is there any difference in the shape of your breasts or the nipples?
No, it's the same.
It's all the same.
Until you feel my breast, you would hardly notice the lump.
Okay.
Until I point it out to you. If I just look at my breasts in the mirror, they look the same. You won't see the lump visibly, but once I point it out to you and you feel it, then you know. Like there's no swelling, there's no redness over the skin, there's no pain. Yeah. I don't know what it's about.
How's your sleep patterns?
Right now it's good. Sometimes I would wake up, but I easily fall back to sleep.
Okay.
Are you forgetful? Are you forgetting things a little bit?
At 54, sometimes I forget where I put my keys, but I would say they're normal. Not major enough to concern me. So I'm gonna fast track. I have no hanging conflicts. I am not in epicrisis. I am not having a syndrome. Just to fast track.
Okay. All right.
So what is the emerging biological conflict here?
So it should be in the conflict active phase.
The conflict. What is the name? The conflict. What is the conflict?
Is it separation?
It is separation.
Separation. Okay.
Yeah, it is separation.
Or fear of separation. Yeah.
Yes, or loss of wanted emotional and physical contact or connection with a loved one. At this point, are you able to determine whether she's in conflict active or healing phase based on what she has told you?
I'd say she's in the conflict.
Yeah. Oh, I was going to say healing.
Okay.
Right. So it's questionable. Like, where is she? We don't know. We don't know until you examine. So as of now, what you have are symptoms. Symptoms are very subjective. And we have what we call signs. Signs are the objective part. So that's why you will hear in medical terms signs and symptoms. So you need to, aside from her story, you need to get into your gloves or wash your hands and start feeling the patient. So now you examine her and do you see the lump?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now you have this lump. So now you have an idea now, more or less, where she's at. Because of the swelling, you know that she's already in the healing phase, right? So I could say the case is, oh yeah, she has redness, warm to touch, itching, so all of this. So suppose she is in the healing phase. What would have happened when she was dealing with the conflict active? Again, here, numbing of the skin, short-term memory loss.
Well, and also because there's cell growth, would you have been able to feel, like, can you feel that cell growth with the widening of the ducts? Like, is that something that she would have been able to feel, or?
Depending on how big it is, and how big it is will depend on how long the conflict has been active. The size,
right,
will depend on how long the conflict has been active.
Okay.
Now
I thought in her symptoms that she was not feeling pain.
She
wasn't sensitive.
Yeah, she wasn't. Sometimes I'm not consistent with my story.
Okay.
So suppose she moved into the healing phase. Now she will have all of this now.
All right.
And then just a reminder, because maybe in your mind you're like, well, what could have happened when she was in the conflict active? Again, reminders, maybe nothing, just maybe this one, which most of us, at least for me, sometimes I dismiss this. The numbing of the skin, I dismiss that. I don't really pay attention to my body, which is a lesson for everybody, because the body is always communicating. All right. So now she is more traditional. Oh, you know what? Fiona, I think I'm gonna go to my doctor. So she ends up having a mammogram and a biopsy. And she welcomes that. That's not a conflict for her. She welcomes it. She loves it. So now week 6, her doctor calls her now. Hey, you have invasive ductal carcinoma, IDC. And so now Catherine receives this diagnosis and is now very distraught. What is the next conflict that is most likely to happen?
Death fright.
Thank you. Death fright. Where does that register? What organ? Was
Is
that
that
Shar?
that's brainstem?
No.
So would be digestive?
What organ? Shar, was that you who said death fright?
I think it was Shaw. I was just asking, would that be in the digestive then?
No.
No, it's still okay.
No. Death fright is very particular about an organ, and it registers in the lungs. Lungs carry fear of death, according to GNM. So she starts a biological program of respiratory death fright. Okay. Now she feels emotionally broken. She doubts her worth now as a mother, as a female. What is the next plausible conflict you can think of? She doubts her worth.
Self-devaluation.
Self-devaluation. And where would that register?
That's the mesoderm.
Yes, organs.
Could be that's ovaries.
I was going to say muscles and
so your protection. Sorry, your third layer. All about the structural integrity.
So it's not the lymph, eh?
It is. It
lymph,
consists
yeah.
of bones,
Okay.
muscles,
soft tissue,
connective tissue, lymphatics, arteries. And that's okay if you don't know, because we haven't discussed it, but I'm just introducing you now. So her self-devaluation could manifest in any of those organs. In her case, she develops a persistent hip pain and spinal stiffness. And when the doctor did an imaging, the bone scan revealed lesions on her bones in the pelvis and in the spine, and diagnoses it as metastasis. Okay. Same thing with the lungs. If you do a scan in the lungs and you see a spot there because there's a death fright program going on, what does the doctor do as a reflex? Diagnose it as lung metastasis, in this case, bone metastasis. Now, her condition deteriorates, and now she becomes financially strained, and she's not able to afford care anymore. Now she runs another program. What's that program, you think? She's not able to financially afford care.
It's life threatened, right? Existence.
Existence, possible,
Right.
starvation, conflict.
Starvation.
What's the other one?
Survival.
Survival, conflict. Right.
Death
So
fright.
many.
Death
So
fright.
many.
Yeah,
Death fright was already in the background.
Yeah.
It's there. It's running. But this is on top of that. So now, so suppose she perceives it as a starvation. Do you remember the digestive organ that locks in starvation conflict?
It's liver.
stomach.
The liver, yeah.
Oh,
The liver.
liver.
Liver is very specific for starvation. So now doctor will scan and will see a spot because the program is running, diagnoses it as liver metastasis. So all of these programs running, it perpetuates her body's her body starts becoming overwhelmed. So she starts having respiratory problems, distress, weight loss, fatigue. So gradually, this typical patient, this is a very typical patient, will undergo all of those hospitalization protocols. So reinforcing the syndrome. Eventually, the system will become overwhelmed that the organs will gradually fail because of the burden. So now Mary dies peacefully in hospice care, surrounded by her family. And I just need to take a breather because I'm recalling all
Yeah.
my patients who
Yeah, I was
follow
just gonna
this path.
say, can we just send a prayer that, you know, forgiveness somehow that we didn't know,
Yeah.
like that they didn't know, and sorry for their situation, all of those people around the world.
You want to lead, Fiona? You want to lead the prayer?
Do you want me to say something now?
Yeah, just lead the
Okay.
prayer.
Just connecting with a pure connection with highest divine source energy, highest emanation of unconditional love and light in existence, to just send, I guess, humanity's apology on for whomever might want to eventually come into this prayer in recognition of the truth of how our beautiful, amazing bodies work. And all the people who try to help on the earthly plane, all those who are suffering. And I just say for myself, and if you want to join in, I deeply apologize for what you have gone through and any role that I played in that. I deeply apologize. I deeply apologize. Please forgive me as I forgive you on any plane for anything that I might have done or contributed to in that story and any story. And I pour love on the entire situation, the entire planet, all people who have suffered through any of this and witnessed any of this. I pour love. I pour love. I pour love. Pure love. Unconditional love. The frequency of miracles, pure unconditional love. And thank you for showing me that I needed to do this. Thank you for showing us the truth. Thank you for the empowerment of our hub and our circle. And thank you for Richie and for bringing us together. Thank you for the information. Thank you for GNM. Thank you that we have the time, the moment to do this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fiona, for those beautiful words. Thank you.
That was beautiful. It just makes me think of Honopono. So gorgeous. Thank you, Fiona.
Yeah.
Amazing.
She just has the perfect words. But
it does. Oh my God.
I can't do that. Not yet. I need to have a script. But thank you. Thank you for that extemporaneous prayer. Thank you. That was very serene. It made me feel serene. Thank you. Yeah, because I needed to take a breather. So my last words or slides are about potential challenges. What do you think? Just name one. And I know because there are many. For me, there were many that surfaced. But maybe just name one that is pulling at you right now that you feel you will have challenges with in terms of stepping into this role as a GNM practitioner. And I will begin. My biggest challenge preparing for this module alone, this was a game changer for me because previously the KCT, the digestive, the skin, they were easy for me. You know, they're detached. I was very detached. But this one was quite personal. And I've had several mammograms on both breasts because of my strong, quote, family history. Both women or women in both family, mom and dad side, have died because of breast cancer. So this really hits close to home. And my biggest challenge, and until now I am trying to resolve it, is to move from a place of fear to freedom. Because no matter how what I comes out of my lips when I'm in front of a patient, if I am in myself in the alignment with fear, they will notice that they will sense it in my vibrational countenance. So overcoming fear when seeing, because I'm trained I'm trained to do something when I'm seeing bleeding in the breast, when I'm seeing crusting, when I'm seeing whatever changes, I am wired to do something. So the challenge for me is let the body do it, just support. That's my biggest challenge. So I turn it over to you guys. Just share one, your most major
For me,
challenge.
it's the escalation. I think it seems to progress faster as more things are happening in the person's body. So they're becoming more and more worried. And so the symptoms are going to show up, as you say, as you've done in your cases that you presented here, that then it's this conflict and then it's that conflict. And it could be they just seem to layer, and it seems to go faster and faster.
Right.
And for me, if they're not willing to reach out and be connecting with me in increasing frequency as things show up, then very quickly over a period of a month, there can be a lot of things happen. And for me, that's my thing.
Yeah, it's like a race against time, hey? Thank you for that sharing. Do I go around? You're all gonna share, by the way. You're not gonna escape.
Yes, I'll go next. My biggest fear is not being able to help the person. That's,
And
to do.
Why would you think that?
I guess because from experience, I mean, I've helped lots of people with their emotional stuff, but just from the experience of the two ladies that came to me and just not being able to help them because they just didn't want to, didn't want to go further, or they were too far within the cancer that I couldn't help them. And that was, it's just, I felt helpless, with that. So that's a big fear for me. I'm a little bit overcautious now, I think. They'll all be going to you, Richie.
Thank you, Julian, for that sharing.
There's a question I wanted to ask, if you don't mind.
Maybe if it's okay, let's finish with Amber and
okay.
I'll come back to you.
Right.
Thank you.
I was looking forward to the question so I could try to figure out how I was going to say what I.
No, the question is, as you are now deeper into GNM.
No, I meant Julia's question, so I could continue thinking.
Okay, Julia, she wants you to ask your question now.
It's just that when someone's in the healing active phase, then why wouldn't they be healing? Why would they? I mean, how do they get to that healing active phase? Obviously, somebody's helped them, or they've got over the emotional conflict that they're going through. So now they're healing. So somebody's in between has done that. And now they're going for mammograms and everything.
So healing in GNM is the opposite perspective from the traditional medical model. When we see swelling and redness and bleeding, the traditional perspective, we are taught to see those as alarm signs. And that is where the disconnection, you can see the disconnection from the body, because you're not trusting the body that it's healing on its own. And that is the body's way of healing. But for us, traditional medicine, we were taught the opposite, that if you see all of those signs, oh, you need to intervene, you need to do something. Instead of teaching us, the body is healing, let it, allow it. And teach us, well, what are we supposed to see in the healing? So the skin, as it heals, and it's a 2-week period minimum, it goes through those phases of color. It goes from the red, sometimes it turns yellowish and green, and then it may turn gray, and then depending again. So instead of teaching us the mechanisms of healing, the processes of healing, it teaches it. I was taught to fear it and just immerse the patient in test after test, protocol after protocol. So your question is, the body is healing. It's not that it's not. It's the perspective that needs to change.
And I think, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say that, like, I'm happy that was the question that was asked, and that was the conversation that was had, because I didn't know how to really say this, put this in words. The part that I think will be challenging for me is when you finally convince them that they're okay, because I'm saying convince because I'm worried that people are, if they're coming to me about GNM, it's because they want something different than medical assistance. But I'm because there's that conditioning that people are supposed to be fearing what GNM sees as healing. The challenge that I'm seeing is if you tell them that they're in the healing stage and they get calm and then all of a sudden something else shows up like a rash or something, then they start getting worked up again about it. So then you like my fear, my challenge that I see for me is having to continuously calm them down so that they don't end up with multiple conflicts and getting into a syndrome because of that conditioning of fearing what GNM sees as healing.
That fear is very pervasive in our society. So shifting that, that is a challenge. But shifting that within yourself is first. So that was my challenge, shifting it within me before I can shift another or help another shift. Right, Fiona?
I think that's also where the strength comes from, our connection with each other, is that we, as GNM practitioners going forward, really have to anchor our confidence not only in the science of GNM and all that we're learning, but as we understanding that everything is so individual, right? It's how the individual perceives their situation. We must still open to our intuitive connection and be able to make those nuanced, steps or adjustments to how we are helping our clients. On because as Richie Ann has pointed out, GNM is great for determining like what is going on, but less so about like how to deal with it. And that's where our tools come in, and all our modalities. It's like letting that go and how helping our clients release those emotions. But just really having that seat of confidence that we are confident with our intuitive downloads we get as we interacting with our client, the science of GNM, but also kind of the sisterhood of this hub that we have, that we can always bring in, bring the case to the group if we feel like we're not getting everything, or if we feel like something is, we're not catching one thing, or we feel out of depth or something like that, that we still have this basis of confidence that we have this connection, and we can really give that air of confidence to our clients, so that they're not like Amber says, like partly going with assistant, coming back. And yes, of course there's time and place for Western medicine and everything like that, but we don't want a client going back and forth between, yes, I believe it, oh no, I'm scared again, or having that hanging conflict. So really having this basis of an anchoring trust in our knowledge and what we're learning together.
Why we are called the One Heart Healing Hub. That was downloaded to me, that name. It's because we are connected by that ancient heartbeat. So everything else may fall away. All the learning that you know about body talk, soul speak, all of that can apply. Yes, will apply. However, there may be cases wherein all of our intellect may fall away. But that heart, the one heart that connects us all, will always be there. So I think that's what we're trying to say, is we are all connected by that one heart, and we need to go back to that.
Yeah. For me, Richie Ann, where I'm at is running an active practice and recognizing that one of the first things is, what is their belief system? And then recognizing, understanding that belief system and how they're ingrained and have been so far. The only time they actually come and see me as a holistic practitioner is when everything else has failed, but they're still running that belief system. And then because perhaps medical has given some sort of diagnosis, then they're going to be still, they have some sort of track running around fear of what if there's going to be, an emergency. And so as a practitioner, you can pick up on that energy and feel the same feeling that they're speaking out around a fear of their own situation, and as a practitioner feeling like, how are we going to play that out? And then I think the other part too is really truly being misunderstood. So our language has to be very, very clear. And I think that's been a problem in the past, is about, well, certainly from a medical perspective, the diagnoses and then that misunderstanding. And then I'm also, for me, then it's like, what next? Like, if something should happen, am I going to run my own program around fear of any legal ramifications of what I'm doing in my practice? And then it just kind of keeps carrying on. Like there's so many of them that we can unpack. But in the end, I think if the good news is that we're not alone. And I love how this hub is coming together, that we have each other. Yeah. We can reach out when we're feeling lost. Yeah. And I'm so grateful for this group and what we're doing together, and just having this type of lecture is fabulous. And I'm so excited about tomorrow, and I think everybody else is.
I am so glad that I have you guys as a sisterhood. I really consider it a sacred sisterhood, because there will be times when my fear will take over, because it's that program is deeply ingrained within that. Making the slides, I was thinking, and seeing Marilyn's pictures, I was thinking, oh my doctor hat was kicking in, like, oh my God, we need to do this. Da, da, da. So I need you guys to remind me, hey, relax, we're healing here, because my doctor hat will always be there.
We got you, Richie Ann. We got you. And thank you so much for being there for us. I just have one question to Richie Ann. And anyone else who wants to chime in, I don't know. I was just thinking back to, okay, so when we have in the end, so there's the cell proliferation to, as the program to kind of resolve the conflicts, okay, that the body does. And then when it goes in the healing phase, and then it's the cell decomposition. And so the bacteria or the fungus, coming out and clearing that away. Just, the way Annalie was talking about, okay, so if people have had lots of antibiotics, and so there's a lot of people who've had antibiotics in their life, right? So if that is not available, then the body is encapsulating. So should we be sort of predicting, anticipating quite a lot of that, especially people who've come from Western medicine and now, are looking for an alternative, but their body doesn't have enough bacteria to break down what might have built up?
Yes, thank you for reminding me of that, because I'd forgotten all about that. It will protect you, or it will protect that breast from spilling the contamination, quote, by casing it within, meaning forming an abscess, for example, or forming a cavern, or forming a wall of protection. So you may see that in imaging. You won't necessarily see that visibly, but it usually appears on imaging. And I would have to go back to the history if that happens and ask, well, what kind of antibiotics have you had? So yeah, thank you for bringing that up, because that had completely slipped in.
When you say you would have to see that on imaging, or that you that's where you would see it, what would that?
My doctor had again. What would
that look like?
It's like an egg. It would look like an egg. So imagine the surrounding tissue, depending on which imaging. If it's the breast, if it's an ultrasound, the surrounding tissue will look black, and it will appear like an egg with a whitish halo. And so in the middle of that egg will be fluid, grayish. fluctuant, moving like a wave. On the other hand, if it's a CT scan, the surrounding tissues will be white or gray. Again, if it's bone, it's white. And again, it will appear like a ring-like formation, inside of which is fluid. So there's a halo. And the halo can be circular, oblong, or like an egg, but it will be delineated. It's a border. It's a white border you will see. And you can see one, or you can see many.
Sorry, so that it will appear black or white then
Depending,
in a
depending
CT?
on the radiology. On the CT, depending on the organ. If it's a bone, it will appear, the bone itself appears white.
White.
And then if you have a encapsulated tumor, then in the white will appear a ring. Inside of it will appear black or grayish.
Oh, black.
So
And so,
yeah.
sorry, I had just one more question about that. If it was encapsulated and say it was in within the breast, does that feel different compared to?
Yes.
Yeah. Is it like harder then? Or because it's filled with water, it's not
Because it's filled with
harder?
water, imagine a water balloon inside.
Okay.
It will be
You said
fluctuating
egg, so I was thinking harder. Okay.
egg shape, sorry, egg shape.
Egg shape. Okay.
Egg shape. But the feel of it to your hands will be like a small water balloon inside the breast. It will feel fluctuant, with what we call fluctuant, wherein when you feel it, you feel like a wave. There's a wave inside. You can actually move it, the wave around your fingers. Versus if there is no encapsulation, then it's gonna just feel hard.
All right, thank you.
Immovable. No matter how much you move your fingers, it doesn't move with your fingers. It's stuck. It's stuck to the underlying tissue, which is usually the muscle.
I just want to put something out to the group. I was back east visiting my sister. She's 13 months older than me, and she was just reviewing her health with me. And she said, "Well, I'm scheduled for my mammogram." And I said, "Oh, how so? Is there something going on?" And she said, "No, no, no." And I said, "Well, why are you going for a mammogram?" And so I have a sister that's had 2 bouts of breast cancer. She's still in the thick of it, but they're unconscious. So I have these 2 sisters that are unconscious. And I said, "Well, you know the work that I do. If anything should come up, I'm here for you." And she said, "Doesn't matter. I'm going to follow the medical system." I said, "All right then." And so much compassion and so much love. And this is my immediate family. So I'm just sharing that it's a really interesting world that we're in, and those that are aligned with us will be in our field, and if they're not, they just won't. even our own family. Just saying.
Yeah. Thank you for all your sharing. I will now proceed to the second to the last slide. This is a question that I pose to all of you to contemplate. Where do you fit in this patient's health journey? Now that we've had many cases now, where do you see yourself? Because we are a group and we all bring our own expertise. So as we move deeper into GNM, try to figure out where best can you help. Is it in the conflict active phase of the client? Is it in the healing phase? Or is it both? Is it in the hospital setting? Is it in the home setting? And the picture is very purposeful for me, because as we hold the thread of that patient's journey, you need to figure out, where do I fit in terms of, do you think the client will do best first in her journey if she sees Fiona first, then me, and then Amber next, So it's also a call for you guys, you ladies, to get to know each other some more. See what does the other do? What do you do? And where does that figure in this client's journey, so that I know where to place myself in this client's journey vis-a-vis your expertise. So with that, I encourage you to attend our spring break meeting. What's this? Spring break party. What did I just end? Okay, I'm just gonna stop sharing. The spring break party is gonna be next Saturday, April 5. We can all enjoy each other's company. 1 to 3 p.m. because it's also the GNM lecture with Onali. It's gonna be at Mona's house. Oh, Marilyn, you're still there. Yay! May we hear from you? How did you? I thought you checked out, and I did. I would not have minded. But congratulations for staying for two hours almost.
Oh, I find it fascinating and interesting, and you know how much I can relate to all the conflicts and journey. And it's like, oh, I wish I would have dove into this 12 years ago.
It's all right.
But
We are all here now, and we're here
and
for you.
I'm so grateful that you invited me to be part of this to you know, and it all really makes sense to me. And look forward to going further.
Teasing your story some more tomorrow. That's what we're gonna do. And it's a very rich story. I love it. I spent like 1.5 days on it because it's so yummy. It's so yummy.
I got lots more.
So thank you, Marilyn, for being present today with us. Thank you for lasting 2 hours. And thank you for allowing yourself to be witnessed by us tomorrow.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for that I can listen in to your secret sisterhood.
You can be part of it anytime. It's not so secret. It's sacred. It is sacred.
Sacred sisterhood. Yeah.
Anybody's welcome. So if any of you guys want to do last words before we close.
You'll send out an address or for.
I will be oh, let me stop the recording now. Hold on a sec. So pause or stop.